in the media conference with Lal Goel, which is brought to you by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV, News Gaon Se, Samvad Sarokar News, Organ Donation India Foundation, and Gyan. Our endeavor is to enlighten you. Just hold on, somebody wants to enter. Okay, sorry. Our endeavor is to enlighten you for the current topic, and today's topic is a very, very current topic, and that is, will Biden Kamala favor Indian policies? But before I will go to the main topic, I would like to inform you that today the world is having this International Holocaust Remembrance Day. International Holocaust Remembrance Day is an international memorial day on 27 January commemorating the tragedy of the Holocaust that occurred during the Second World War. It commemorates the genocide that resulted in the death of 6 million Jews and 11 million others by the Nazi regime and its collaborators. It was designated by the United Nations General Assembly resolution on 1st November 2005 during the 42nd plenary session. The resolution came after a special session was held earlier that year on 24 January 2005, during which the United Nations General Assembly marked the 60th anniversary of the liberation of the Nazi concentration camps and the end of Holocaust. On 27 January 1945, the largest Nazi concentration and death camp was liberated by the Red Army. Media conference with Lal Goel pays its tribute on this Memorial Day. Will Biden Kamala favor Indian policies? This is the main topic today. Joe Biden, sworn in as 46th US President, and Kamala Harris creates history as first woman Vice President of USA. India-US relations have evolved and only grown irrespective of which party is in the office, Democrats or Republicans. With a Joe Biden-Kamala Harris win in the US presidential elections, there could certainly be continuity in the Indo-US ties on various fronts. As the vice president during the Barack Obama's administration, Joe Biden plays a critical role in the US South Asia strategy. Biden administration will likely maintain the positive momentum in areas like defense and counter-terrorism. Trade will continue to cause friction. The three areas where the biggest changes are likely: less pressure on skilled immigration, renewed cooperation on climate change, and greater friction over US commentary on India's domestic social issues. The two sides will see continuum and further straightening on various fronts, particularly on the Indo-Pacific front. An initiative that first took shape during the President Obama's administration as a vision document on Asia-Pacific to counter Chinese inroads in the region. Kamala Harris is the first woman to be the US Vice President. She is a non-white and the first person of Indian heritage to become the Vice President. As per the Washington Post, after the election, her first foreign call was to India to her uncle Gopalan Balchandran, the brother of her mother. There are three important areas involving the relationship between the two countries: Kashmir, China, and business. Now, what can India expect from Biden and Harris? Some Indians and Indian news media expressed concerns about their statements about Kashmir. There is no doubt Biden and Harris will not be like President Trump, who had publicly stated, "I love India and Hindus." Mr. Trump has appointed a number of Indian origin people to high positions in his administration, except one: all are Hindus. The exception was Nikki Haley, who converted from Sikhism to Christianity. Miss Kamala, raised as a Hindu by her mother, also became a Christian. After the dismantling of the Russian Empire, China started emerging as a world economic and military power. The changed political situation required the US to start taking India more seriously, as India is the only country which could rival China in Asia on the economic and military fronts. To keep America at number one, Americans have to adopt world first and not America first. That is what US presidents have done without flattering since 1945. Biden is expected to return the presidency to the old value system that has always been about promotion of democracy, stability, human rights, cultural and religious freedoms, plurality, and inclusiveness, through many of these may also not be abundantly found in the America of the past or the present. America won the Cold War on the back of pursuit of these values. As the world's leading power, it will probably see its leadership returning to the more traditional ways. Samira Fazil, a Kashmiri origin woman, has been appointed by Mr. Joe Biden in his core team ahead of his oath-taking ceremony. Samira Fazil will be the Deputy Director of the National Economic Council, NEC, focused on manufacturing, innovation, and domestic competition. Earlier in December 2020, another Kashmir-born woman, Aisha Shah, was inducted into the President Biden's team as partnership manager of digital strategy team of White House. The US new Vice President-elect, Kamala Harris, had pledged to intervene in the J&K dispute if the situation demands, and assured Kashmiris that they are not alone in the world. The Democratic Party represents a broad spectrum of liberalist ideologies, including classic liberalism, social democracy, progressivism, and social liberalism. Democrat presidents John F. Kennedy, Jimmy Carter, Barack Obama were having very balanced policies on Asia. Currently, the Republican Party is identified by classical liberalism, conservatism, and right-wing policies. Republican presidents Richard Nixon, George H.W. Bush, and Donald Trump were very aggressive in their policies on Asia. A little over a year, Indian Prime Minister Honorable Mr. Narendra Modi stood in front of a crowd of 50,000 people in a stadium in Houston, Texas, just as the US elections turbine was veering up. Ab ki baar, Trump Sarkar. He declared, meaning roughly this time it is Trump's turn. The phrase was an adaptation of Mr. Modi's own electoral campaign slogan. Its significance was undeniable. Mr. Modi's team would later scramble to insist that the Indian Prime Minister had not endorsed Trump ahead of the 2020 elections. Yet it was impossible to see the choice of that phrase, and indeed the entire Howdy Modi event, followed by a repeat Namaste Trump performance in India in February last year, as anything but a tactic endorsement of the Republican candidate. The Houston event in particular did three things: offered a reminder of how popular Mr. Modi still was among the diaspora, whose support he has always heavily quoted; reiterated the Trump-Modi connection with the US president, relying on the Indian Prime Minister to appeal for support to the small but influential Indian Americans community, and raised concerns that Modi was leaning too far towards Trump, putting at risk the bipartisan consciousness in the US that favors better ties with India. Now, to discuss a very, very hot, I will not term it, but yes, it is a controversial topic, that is, will Biden Kamala favor Indian policies? And to discuss this, we have a very, very elite, expert, qualified panelist with us. I would like to invite my first guest. He is Mr. P. Michael Veta Shiromani, IAS. Mr. Shiromani is the former Vice Chancellor, Rajiv Gandhi National Institute of Youth Development. He is the former Additional Chief Secretary, Government of Kerala. His journey as a civil servant began with Indian Forest Service in 1980 and subsequently joined the Indian Administrative Service in 1982, being allotted to the Kerala cadre. Tribal development has been his keen interest, and during his stint as Director Tribal Welfare and as the District Collector of Wayanad, he was able to take many initiatives for tribal development. As part of tourism development, his active efforts paved way for a niche place of Wayanad in the tourism map of India. He was also instrumental in introducing sericulture in Kerala and produced the best quality cocoons in country. He unearthed the unwed mother issue among the tribals in Wayanad and made efforts to put an end to it. He also served as faculty member in Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration, training 6 batches of civil servants. As joint secretary in NHRC, he established a training wing for human rights. In the field of disaster management, he edited a practical and application-oriented book named Source Book for the district collectors. During his tenure with International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent, New Delhi, he set up training division for disaster management. As part of his other endeavors, he is also associated with organization striving to make Kanyakumari district a model district of good governance and development. Welcome, Mr. P. Michael Veda Shiromani, IAS, to our show. You being the, you were associated with National Human Rights Commission, and you have already done lots of work, and rather you have started a training wing for human rights. And you know today that government, the present government of USA, by President Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, are also talking about the human rights. But we would like to know from you your views on, will Biden Kamala favor Indian policies? Mr. P. Michael Veta Shiromani, IAS, please.
Very good morning to Dr. Lal Goel and my, panelist, Mr. Arul Lakshman, Dr. P.K. Abraham, Rakesh Jaji, and Mr. Dr. Sudhir Sharan. It's a great pleasure to be with you, especially on a topic which is really something very, as you rightly said, hot. Thanks to you for making a background in which we have to talk about this topic. Will Biden Kamala favor Indian policies? And you wanted me to little highlight on the human rights issues and all. When we came to this background, I think yesterday, we are in the heat of what is the Republic Day celebrations with Constitution in front of us. So with that Constitution and the Republic Day heat, I think the warmth, I think when we look into the new dispensation of America, I think I would say it's a very, very, very positive, because I think the two democracies is what is the commonality between. Whatever may be our differences, whatever may be our economic strength and economic weakness, the biggest strength with us is the two democracies. The living democracy, the lively democracy, I think on which I think both the countries have to partner with one another for the mutual interest. So the second thing is, when we think of the 2020 to 2021, when we are amidst in the same, I think, boat with the COVID problems, the problems of economic downfall for both the countries is very badly affected. In this background, we need one another. The strength of US will be the strength of India. The strength of India will be strength of US. It's mutual. I think we look into that. And as a democracy, I think I would say that we need to partner. And I think it's equally, I think it is something like win-win situation. The new dispensation, I think one feels very happy. As an Indian, all the more from Tamil Nadu, you feel as though is Kamala, is your family member is there. That gives a lot of strength. That gives a lot of hope. That gives a lot of optimism. Not that Kamala Harris is going to give many things to us, but a matter of comfort and concern, and a congenial atmosphere is there. Coming to the actual parts of how we are going to partner, how this policy is going to support us, thanks to our present Prime Minister, who had a one-to-one strong relations with Mr. Trump. So it's very important that country-to-country relations, it's already is there. One as a democracy, and two, I think Mr. Modi, as with his special efforts and with all his talents, I think has made one-to-one personal relations with Mr. Trump. In the process, I think we have been benefited, is what I would strongly feel. Coming to the present dispensations, as you rightly highlighted, I think they have taken quite a large number of personalities of origin, of Indian origin, who has really, I think it's something like shining stars, was done so good and so well. Even the first speech, I think Mr. Joe Biden was speaking, was written by one of our, I think our citizen from, I think Andhra. It highlights the future, the recorrections, the rectifications, and new resolutions. I think that the new dispensations wants to look into rebuild Kerala, sorry, rebuild the US, and also to look into I think reposition themselves in the head of the table. I think they do have got the capability because of their mighty power and as a democracy. In this context, I think the commonalities between us and them is what is something like democracy, and especially I think all the democratic values, And the common area which has been a concern, which I just looked into, is I think the first and foremost, the background comes is about the about the security issues. I think Joe Biden himself was in the participated in the discussion of the nuclear deal. So he is very familiar and a person who is very conversant with Indian democracy and Indian functioning. The second one is an area where I think we have to be all concerned is about the terrorism, in which what is the support we are going to get it. Both India is one of the biggest sufferer of terrorism, and equally was, I think, the 9/11 issues in US, I think has also brought us together, a common platform where we could work together. The third areas where we could work together is the climate change. This is one thing, something we all have to be concerned, both as we as a developing country and I think US as a developed country. I think we look, I think, to the developed countries for technologies. I feel these are all the some areas where we can be, I think there could be a common partnership for a betterment and all. Now coming into the, I think when we take this as a stakeholders, I look into the Indian Americans. I think if I remember correctly, around 40 lakh people are there, who are really the voice of, who has contributed greatly, and by virtue of their competence, they are there. I think they are in every field. I think they are really competent. They bring a pride to India. So that is an area where we can think it of. That the second area is the Indians who look to America. Yes, I think for every Indian, I think US has been always a target. I used to say a joke, if there is a heaven is offered and US is offered, I think many would prefer the line of US to go there and not. I think everybody feels proud that my son is in US, my daughter is in Houston and all. That I think even remain because of what they have done in the whole world, and globally they are strong. Now coming to the security issues, I think the defense secretary, Mr. Lloyd Austin, has rightly said that we will deepen the relationship with India, both broaden and also deepen it. Now, this gives a lot of strength to us. But then also when we look into the newspapers, I think they have been also partnered with Pakistan. Should it be a concern for us? I would say no, because the US position there in Pakistan and with our neighbor, I think he has also said that I will specifically take up the issue of they should not harbor any of the terrorists there, which will pave way for, I think, India's both economic development. We all know that how much of India's resources are being depleted in that border. I think the position of we need something we look into. I think we need to worried about the US-Pak relationships that also need to be strengthened, because they are looking into the whole world how to reposition themselves. So their relationships means independent, and I think I would say their relationships will certainly, the presence of US will strengthen, I think, our ties with US, and also maybe they have already offered, as Mr. Lal said, I think Madam Harris has also said that she will be, I think, would like to, I think, find a solution to Kashmir issues. The Kashmir issues, it's our independent issues that we may look into. We may have a discussions or not. That is our political issues, which we will be doing it and all. Now coming to into the trade and commerce, in this area, possibly I would like, every country would like to look into their own country's strength. I think we have got our own strength of our agriculture productions, possibly our own, I think, manufacturing sector in which we need to look into. But agriculture, we are very strong. I think that is on which I think we can rely on, because we have the resale sufficiency. But at this point of time, I would also like to, I think, acknowledge the great US contribution, the early days of our, I think, freedom, how much they have supported us in terms of food security and all. Now, coming to the last part of it now, will they support our policies? I think it cannot be a total, we can say that they will be supporting, but it will be case-to-case basis. But they need us, we need them. We need them, they need us. There's no doubt about it, because we are an important democracy. We have got a great principles. I think thanks to Nehruji of his non-aligned movement and all, at some point of time, he supported US, at sometimes he withdrew and stood it and all. That was India's uniqueness and all. In this context, coming to the few issues on the press media, the human rights issues which you specifically wanted. I think we all know in terms of the human rights issues, I think India, I think in terms of in Indian context, I think we need to look into. Well, the entire Indian constitutions on two aids is the dignity of an individual and the safety of the country. In this context, I would say on the human rights issues, much more to be done. Because we are also found fault with by the UN agencies also that we are lacking behind. Certainly, I think when we look into certain incidents which has recently happened, I think we need to look into that. I think there's something which I think the home front, we need to correct it. Each individually, we are committed to that. I think we'll certainly in the present context, we will do it. So overall, I would say that I think in the overall, the present new dispensations, the new context, I think we warmly welcome Biden Harris combinations, and it will be favorable to us. I think we should build upon that. Thank you very much for this great opportunity. I would like to listen from other panelists.
Thank you very much, Mr. Michael Vedasuromani, for giving such a opening remark. And he is very clear. He says, although we are going to evaluate case to case the points, but they need us, we need them. And that's why the US has no other option, and India also have no other option. Although they, and according to Mr. Shiromani, the relationship with our Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, with Mr. Trump will be a beneficial thing for their tie-ups between India and America, because it's a one-to-one relationship. And he says, because Miss Kamala is from India and especially from Tamil Nadu, definitely she is going to, although she has made a statement about the human rights in Jammu and Kashmir, but still, definitely, she is going to see what is better for both the countries. Thank you very much, Mr. Vedasuromani, because to paucity of the time, I will not summarize much. I would like to go to the other panelist. My next panelist, I would like to invite Dr. P.K. Ibrahim. Dr. P.K. Ibrahim is a dynamic leader with rocket speed in transforming organizations. He had transformed a media house that was almost at the verge of a breakdown back into its glorious days. Rashtriya Deepika Limited was totally reformed under his leadership during 90s. While he took leadership, the company had first Malayalam daily Deepika with 2 editions and a children's magazine and a huge balance sheet of liabilities. Dr. Ibrahim had totally expanded the company by bringing hundreds of youngsters into leadership role and creating a strategic revenue model around each of them. He had become the founder editor of largest circulated Malayalam evening daily, Rashtra Deepika, and founder editor of Krishna Kan, the first agricultural magazine in Kerala from the same media house. He had started a film magazine that had become a hit overnight. Women's magazine, career magazine, etc. were started one after the other under the same umbrella brand. Almost 20 years after later, today, Dr. Ibrahim maintains the same spirit of dynamic and strategic leadership, transforming establishments one after the other. At present, he is the CEO of True Coach Paints Kochi. Dr. Ibrahim was General Manager of Fertilizers and Chemicals, Travancore, popularly known as FACT Limited. He was Director of the famous MacFast Business School in Kerala and Dean of Xavier Institute of Management, Bengaluru. Welcome, Dr. P.K. Ibrahim, on our show. Dr. P.K. Ibrahim, you have heard what Mr. Michael has mentioned in his opening remarks. Now, we would like to know from you, will Biden, Kamala favor Indian policies? Dr. P.K. Abraham, please.
Our editor, Lal Goel ji, and good morning to the distinguished fellow panelists. Thank you for your glorious introduction and your expectation of being dynamic. I will try to rise to the occasion, and I will be brief because as our editor has warned, we have a paucity of time, and being professors, we are prone to talk more because our job is talking to the students. Okay, we have a very interesting topic today. Mr. Trump and his follower, Mr. Biden, are poles apart. You know, Trump was highly mercurial, erratic, unpredictable, disruptive, and he will do whatever he wants to do. He doesn't care conventions or constitution or law, but he goes ahead and does. So they are poles apart in their as a president, as individuals. Their legacy will be also equally poles apart. Though they are different in many ways, and Mr. Biden is going to change most of the actions initiated and continued by Trump. He has already started, you know, in the first few days, he has issued some 15 to 20 executive orders reversing Trump's decisions and his policies. But in one thing, there won't be a change, and that is US approach, US attitude towards India. That will continue because as Goel, as our editor, as well as others said, no, that during Modi's era and Trump's era, that is for the last 4 years, and even beyond that, starting probably with in 2005, in the time of Bush Jr., and then later during the time of Obama, there was a strategic shift in the American approach. They were earlier concentrating, as you know, in Europe and Middle East, but of course, and Afghanistan. But there was a strategic shift, especially in the aftermath of the destruction or the dismantling of the Soviet Empire, Soviet Union, and the Chinese ascendancy at its rise to world dominance, and especially starting in order to prepare the world dominance, they were starting their dominance in Asia, Southeast Asia, and Pacific region. And then the strategic shift of America came, in which their Asia-Pacific policy was enunciated, and there was a strategic initiative and strategic alliance or collaboration with India. And that is why India came, because in the dominance role the China was playing, and they were continued to reach dominance in the Asia-Pacific region. India was a natural ally, and also the China and India was always having conflict in the border and in other areas also, because China knew that if India is also equally growing or better growing and developing, that will not be in the interest of Chinese dominance. That's why we have that conflict, and also other countries in the Asia Pacific region. So America shifted, and that shift of their strategic requirement came focusing Asia focus, and for that India was one of the major base or major fulcrum or pivot nation. So that is how it came. It started in 2005 actually, when Bush Jr. was there. Then it continued very successfully during Obama's time till 16, and then of course, as they say that the history, as it's said, the Obama, after that Modi, and then our Trump fellow, they hit each other. You know, it was also the Howdy Modi and the Namaste Trump, all those kind of great camaraderie and then friendship and then show of togetherness. Okay. So that was strengthened for the last 20 years. And Trump and Modi together continued that strengthening. And that is going to continue. It is not because any favor from the Biden, Kamala, or the largely Indian or Asian origin cabinet and close aides of Biden. It is not because of their favoring India, but it is a necessity of the time. It is in the strategic interest of both nations that they work together. So it continues. And that continuation will be definitely in favor of Indian policies. And that will lead us to get better technologies, better defense equipments, better other strategic requirements of India aligned with the American support. So that is one thing, one policy, or the policy which will be continuing. Apart from this, there are other possible beneficial policies America or Biden will be taking, contrast to what Trump was doing. One is, of course, is immigration policy and his attitude to H-1B visa and also the green card. Biden will be having a better approach in all these areas: immigration, H-1B visa. Of course, H-1B visa may not be that free for everybody because America is also having a jobless problem, unemployment problem, but it will be much better. But in other areas like green card and more people are coming, that in that field, his immigration policy will be much more favorable to India than the Trump policies. Another thing is trade. Trade has been, India is our number one partner in the trade, investment, and export, service exports is the United States. Definitely it will continue. It will improve on both interests. My earlier panelist was saying that we are having a lot of strength in our economy, and we have many things to export and also to import, and especially our our services sector exports, and also agricultural, selected agricultural commodities, and imports also from United States, especially in the high technology areas, the imports, and the defense, strategic defense equipment imports. So that area we will continue as it was continued, as it was earlier. Then in the climate change, we will be benefited. The climate change, Biden will having a very progressive green energy, green technology. And also another thing is that he is going to renegotiate the Iran nuclear contract, and which will be good for us because that will give us more cheaper oil. And that is another thing where we have Biden policy affecting us in contrast to what was done by the Trump era, our Trump policies. Then another very major area in which we are having, India is having the beneficial policy outcome is the Biden's shift to an all-out war on COVID. You know that Trump said that, oh, COVID is, after all, it is nothing. He sold the belligerent or the restless style. He said that, oh, no COVID. What is the COVID? You don't have to wear mask and nothing. And these scientists, they say so many things. We don't have to care for that. And that led to the highest death in the COVID, and it spread. But Biden rightly took it as his first priority. And he took it as on a war footing, and he said that you should wear mask, and he made it mandatory to wear mask everywhere, especially in federal properties. And vaccine, he said 100 million vaccine. 100 million is more than 1/3 of the American population. 100 million vaccines in 100 days. That is his war on COVID. So by that, the economy will be revived. Everybody before the election said that, oh, if Trump is going there, stock market will go down, economy will go down. But it was the other way around. You can see that the stock market is their S&P and other Nasdaq and all that is skyrocketing.
Please be brief.
After Biden's coming. So this economic, I will be brief, economic revival, which is now witnessing with the attack on COVID and Covaxin and the vaccine spread, it will be very good for India because India has the highest capacity to produce vaccine. And when America is aligned in that line, we will have great benefit out of that. Then, of course, we have the identity in our political, social, and economic systems, and we are similar in our approach because two democracies, and in the political we are identified. The value system we have identity. We respect human dignity, human freedom, all those human values. We have identity, and also in the international terrorism and cross-border terrorist attacks and all that. We are with them because they are also a country which is having the highest threat and highest damage from international terrorism, as we were also suffering. So these are the areas. Then, of course, we will be getting our next to China. Chinese students, the next biggest number is from India, who are pursuing higher studies in America. So it will be good for, they will get more acceptability, they will get more visa and other things. So in all these matters, the Biden administration will be very progressive, very conducive, very beneficial to India. It is not because Kamala Harris and a large number of others are their Biden's immediate deputies and immediate associates. In the Biden cabinet, we can say that except Biden, almost 90% is Asian, African, or Asian Indian origin. But it is not because of that, because
please conclude.
I can conclude by saying that any country in the international level, the country has no permanent enemies or permanent friends. They have only permanent interests. So in that way, the interest, most of the interests of American government or America is in line, in parallel, in consonance with the Indian interests. That's why we are sure that despite the change in American presidentship from the mercurial and erratic Trump to a very stable and balanced gentleman like Mr. Biden, certainly it will be beneficial for India. And there won't be any major change in the policy.
Yes, Dr. Abraham, we have a paucity of time because we have 5 panelists today and we have to listen from everyone. And then the next round is a questions round, which is also very important. Thank you very much. I would not like to now summarize what Dr. Abraham said, but he is also of the same view that whatsoever is done, whatsoever the relationship between Mr. Trump and Mr. Modi, but now Mr. Biden and Kamala relationship with India has to be there because there is no way out. So thank you very much, Dr. Abraham, for giving your views. Now I would like to move to my next panelist. I request all my panelists to be not more exceed the time of 10 minutes. The next panelist is Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran. He is the former visiting professor IIM Lucknow and University of Texas at Dallas, USA. He is the director of Aldo Private Limited, New Delhi. He has done his MBA from IIM Ahmedabad in 1980. He did PhD in 1986. He started teaching and researching business and entrepreneurship since 1984. He published research papers in reputed journals, international seminars, proceedings, and chapters in books of readings. He started academic administration phase as dean in 1997, rising to executive director, controlling management and engineering institutes in 2007. Her Highness Governor of Karnataka nominated Dr. Sharan to the Senate of the Bangalore University in recognition of his distinguished academic contribution. He was visiting professor to University of Texas at Dallas from 2012 to 2019. He also visited Washington State University and President University, Indonesia on the invitation of the Dean Faculty of the Business in 2018. He innovated and implemented a unique model to double the turnover with existing infrastructure in one accounting year. He is co-promoter of Institute of Family Business Management Society. He is honorary director of NCR, Delhi-based high-tech B2B digital startup. He is also co-founder of OWGI Foundation, which promotes social entrepreneurship ventures. Welcome, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran. I have to read your profile in a bit fast way. Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, you have already heard what Mr. Michael and Dr. P.K. Abraham had spoken earlier to you. Now we would like to know from you, will Biden Kamala favor Indian policies? Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, please.
Thank you, Mr. Lal Goel, for this golden opportunity. And I send my heartfelt greetings to my fellow panelists. I will not beat around the bush. Let's come straight to the questions. Will Kamala and her boss Biden favor India when it comes to policies? I don't want to leave you in any dilemma. So please look at this creature. I'm sure you recognize this one. This is found all over the world, and it has one set of teeth here, which is only for display. And hidden from our view is another set of teeth, which are there to feed it and give it nutrition. So this is the metaphor to remember when Kamala and Biden policy support to India is discussed. There'll be one set of teeth for the public consumption, and there'll be one driven by the hard reality in the country of dominance, and that is United States of America. We should not have any confusion with respect to what is that going to be. So, Mr. Goel and my fellow panelists, this is the opening sentiment, and it is my personal sentiment. Let me say this one. But then I have been studying United States-India relationship for more than 40 years to date. The reason is I had to go to an American system university to do my studies. IIM Ahmedabad, which was a carbon copy of Harvard Business School. So that is it. Based on that one, now let us notice at some of the very important facts which are the drivers of the relationship. The driver of relationships are the state of, Department of State, what America calls, and the Secretary of State will be there. The another important person in the relationship will be the Secretary of Defense. The third important person will be Treasury Secretary. And of course, the core of the global finance is controlled by governor of RBI in India, and they have chairman of Federal Reserve Bank. These are the individuals to keep an eye on. The other two things which we have to see is the 30 bilateral working groups have been constituted in the recent past. These 30 bilateral working groups are spanning all the 5 important areas: terrorism, space, health, then high tech, and of course, energy or climate. These two are intertwined. Clean energy, clean climate, and that is it. I'm mentioning this because we want to understand how much latitude does Biden-Harris government has and how much latitude our own government has in terms of maintaining the relationship and changing the relationships. Mr. Goel, we have plenty of room to play when it comes to cultural factors, because of the one good thing which has happened over the last 7 decades. Today, America has 40 lakh Indian American diaspora. This is the one which you've been talking about. Modi went there and got a royal reception. Trump was trying to get this one, and he lost it. He lost it, and after January 6th, I think he has become extremely untouchable for the Indian diaspora, because those Indians left India precisely because they wanted more of democracy, not less of democracy. Those who wanted less of democracy went to European countries like Germany or England for making their future. I hope you are understanding these cultural points. I hope I'm making some sense here. Then US Secretaries of State and Defense with Indian counterparts sat down 2 years ago and they said, we reaffirm India's status as a major defense partner. I do not think Biden and Harris are going to make even 1 millimeter of change in this position. This is going to be plank of our relationship. We are going to be major defense partner, and more so in the years to come if China's maintains it aggressive stance in this part of the country, in this part of the region. Then second thing is, I will keep to my time. Perhaps I'll create some more time for you. So the second important thing is look at 2019 total number of $149 billion. $149 billion was our trade between the two countries. Now, that is not a big chunk for USA, which is a $20 trillion economy. But then what is important is politically sensitive topic of how much of American crude did we import. So America managed to sell us $48.2 billion worth of crude, whereas just a year ago, it was only 9 billion. So if this moves on, we also become a major economic favored partner for America, not only defense partner for controlling terrorism. Then finally, US supports India's emergence as leading global power. This is very important. Both Biden and Kamala are going to support us in this one because they think it is to their advantage to let India emerge as a leading global power and vital partner in efforts to ensure that Indo-Pacific region is a region of peace, stability, and growing prosperity. So you see the 4 billion Indian American diaspora, the major defense partnership, the emerging favor for crude oil, and all the cultural things between the two countries. I think these are going to shape and control the direction of the relationship. Now, if we are sentimental about Kamala being from South India, we have good reason to be, because they have a lot of soft corner and political mindless to gain by favoring India and Indians. They get to show that we are truly democratic and we believe in rights and we believe in equality, the fundamental values which they want that they be leaders in the world to propagate, maintain, sustain, and encourage. So these are the planks. I hope I was clear to you. I again conclude by showing you this animal. Don't forget that at policy level and a statement level, this will be for only display. The actual ones are hidden from sight. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran. You are showing the symbol of Republican Party very clearly. It means still you have the ugly bar Trump Sarkar in mind, because the elephant is the symbol of Republican Party in USA. In India, it is a Bahujan Party led by Mayawati. So I am sure that by showing this, you are not again promoting that the Republican Party should take over. Now,
allow me to just make one comment here. To me, I am a biologist, so this is just an animal. I am not a political animal.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Saran. But because the discussion is not on biology today, we are discussing the political issues and the policies. But yes, you have made a very, very clear point. And what Dr. Saran has mentioned is because of the compulsion which USA is having, whether it's a cultural or financial or defense or because of the China, the US have no other option to support Indian policies. This is the crux of his views, whatsoever he has mentioned. And he says very clearly that Indians who were supporting before 6th of January to Trump switched over because of one violence. Although I disagree, but that is my view. That is not I cannot precise. Unlike the other TV channels, media channels, I cannot shout on you. I cannot shut your mouth close, or I will not say, no, my views are the views, your views are not the views. But yes, this is the view what he said, and he's very clear saying that India, America relationship will develop further. Whatsoever things are there, emotional things are different, but otherwise on the reality, the things will improve. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, and a special thanks for giving me the time to say something lightly also. Now, I would like to go to my next guest, and he is Mr. Arun Lakshman. Mr. Arun Lakshman is the Director of Center for Policy and Development Studies, a think tank based out of Chennai and Thiruvananthapuram, focusing on social, economic, political, and strategic studies. He was officer on special duty to Minister of State for Law and Justice in Vajpayee government. He is a freelance journalist and was former Kerala resident editor of The Pioneer. He worked with the New Indian Express as well as with Sea Voter opinion poll agency Rediff.com. Welcome, Mr. Arun Lakshman, to our show. Mr. Arun Lakshman, you have heard three very eminent panelists, Mr. Michael, Dr. Abraham, and Professor Dr. Saran before you. And they, all the three of the view that whatsoever has been said or done or whatsoever that change in the US from Republican to Democrat, there will be no shift as far as the obvious shifters. Somewhat smaller minor shifts might be there, but the major shift, there will be no major shift in the US-Indian relationship, and US will be either, I will not use the word force, but yes, they will be compelled or they will be intend to support Indian policies. I would like to know will Biden, Kamala favor Indian policies? Mr. Arun Lakshman, please.
Good morning, Mr. Lal Goel ji, my distinguished panelist, Dr. Michael Shiromani sir, Dr. P.K. Abraham, so Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, and Mr. Ragesh Shah. My salutations to all of you. Thank you once more for calling me to this panel, this distinguished elite panel. I do agree with my predecessors today, Mr. Michael Shiromani, Dr. P.K. Abraham, and Dr. Sudhir Saran on the same policy. I think there were doubts among journalist fraternity, among the think tanks, that where will the Modi-Trump relation was. It was a clear burn home between them as a personal front and as a political front also. As you earlier said, the Namaste Trump and the Howdy Modi were clear indicators, and even Indian Prime Minister making a statement in the United States soil that it will be Abki Bar Trump, Agle Bar Trump. That was also a sealed fact that India, or rather the Indian dispensation, which is governing now, was very close, or rather a partner like to the Donald Trump administration. But coming back to my point, I feel that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, this duo, they will be, rather than forced, they will be compelled to have a good relationship, both all in social, economic, political, strategic areas with India. And regarding China, China is an area of big interest to all of us. China also, I think the same line which the Trump administration adopted will be adopted by the Biden administration also, because China, they also fear that there's a CPEC, the coming of CPEC, the issues in the sea, in the South China Sea, all these issues coupled together. So China issue will be one of the major focal points between this Democratic administration of Joe Biden and the Indian government. Regarding the rights part of Kamala Harris had made that statement much before she becoming the vice president of the United States of America. I think they will mellow down on that tone and tenure regarding the Kashmir issue also. Of course, they will be more proactive rather than the Trump administration regarding the rights part, or intervening or commenting on this. Our Indian, as Dr. Michael Shiromani had rightly pointed out, the rights. There are certain areas of darkness or shady areas for our administration also to clear on the rights part. So I do agree with that. When as a democratic government in the United States, with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris professing for the right part, they will definitely make one or two comments on this. But at a larger or a broader extent, as Dr. Sudhir Saran has rightly mentioned, we will be the crude point, the crude import point from $9 billion to $48.2 billion. It is not a joke. It is a big trade game. So America will, as a major importer of the crude. So India is a very strategic, or India will be a very important trade partner for the United States, and that policy will stay on. So that will be very important. Secondly, the defense. India has been a major defense partner for the US for over the years, and it is again being increased, or rather, the defense partnership or defense cooperation is improving between the two countries, and America is benefiting on that. And as Dr. P.K. Abraham said, the H-1B visa part, the immigration part, Biden will be more open, or the Biden administration will be more helpful to us and our students, the second largest diaspora of Indian students after China. So this in this part, India will be much more favorable by Biden administration rather than the Trump administration. There were some issues regarding H-1B. Trump has openly commented on that and all those stuff. That will not happen. And regarding the Pakistan issue, Pakistan will be a major point of interest where we will have to see how the Biden administration will be coming out, and how will Kamala react to it, and whether that human interest or human rights part on America, what will be that part towards India. That will be a very crucial area. And as far as Iran is concerned, Iran also, Biden administration will be having a more lenient policy. That policy is good for us, as we can have the oil import from Iran also. That will be better for us or beneficial for us. And I feel that the Iran relaxation, there will be relaxation policy from the Biden administration. So that will also be beneficial to us. And one major point I will also like to highlight here is the COVID thing. Just immediately after coming to power, Biden has signed an order for the compulsory wearing of masks and the vaccination part in 100 days. 100 that's very important. As Dr. Abraham said, we will be a beneficial country for that, because we have a major vaccination. We are turning into a major vaccination manufacturing hub, so that will be very important. And the American economy will also surge ahead because of these proactive interest or proactive measures taken by the Biden administration as far as the COVID is taken care of. That the deaths reported in the United States because of Trump, certain measures taken by the President Trump. He was undermining the scientific community, openly stating that there is no problem, there is no point in wearing mask and all those things. That reversal of that point, that thing, and bringing up the COVID, a major fight against COVID, it will be good for the American economy, and we can see it in the world stock markets booming like anything. The Nasdaq has come up, the S&P has come up. Indian stock markets have all the same impact. So I feel that the measures taken by Joe Biden, the first week of his administration, it will be beneficial to the world at large. And regarding the Paris Climate Accord, Biden will, as an environmental supporter and Democratic Party's policies, they will be in accordance with the Paris Accord, and that will also be very clean energy, green energy. That will be very beneficial to India also. So I think in that part also, they will have to. We will be in a cooperative. Will be having a cooperation with the United States of America, and to me also, as all my earlier panelists said, there will not be a major radical shift in the Biden Kamala Harris policies towards India from the earlier administration. So India, not because of any favor or anything to be granted to our country, because we are also an emerging economy, we have also our own strength, and they do want to capitalize on those strengths, as Dr. Sharan has rightly mentioned, the import of the crude and the defense status. The America always have their business interests and the trade interests at the core of their policies. Like he's shown the teeth of the elephant, the policies will be that part we will have to be very careful on that. But I think the Indian administration will also rise up to the occasion. And my only concern is the Pakistan policy. And I have one plus point of Donald Trump. He was the only US president who didn't send the troops across. He didn't send troops across the globe. He never used the troops, and maybe that was America first policy. He didn't want the American troops or American soldiers to die outside of America. So that point, and I think the Joe Biden administration with Kamala Harris as his deputy will be having a very good relationship with India.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Arun Lakshman. And Mr. Arun Lakshman also agrees with all earlier panelists that there will be no radical change or the shift of the policy because of the many reasons. And the foremost reason is the trade, because India is very powerful consumer. Otherwise, if we will say the word is a consumer, India is a consumer, and US always goes for their benefit. They are like a business person. If they seize the profit and they feel that India is the market where they can sell their products, whether it's in form of whether it's oil or whether it's in the defense equipments, even in the education front. So they will not try to change the policies. And he insisted about the COVID thing. Yes, they have made it compulsory, but the unfortunate part in India is we have lots of vaccine, but the willingness from that fraternity who are supposed to take the vaccine is very, very less. And this is not a good sign for us. I personally feel that at least the medical fraternity should come forward, take the vaccination. Otherwise, government should allow all the next phase, like senior citizens like us, to go ahead and take the vaccine if the medical fraternity is afraid of taking the vaccination. But that is the separate issue which we will discuss afterwards. Yes, Mr. Lakshman, you want to say something?
No, I just want to say one thing, that the Prime Minister has told that in the second stage, the PM and all the chief ministers will take the vaccine.
Yeah,
that will make it more popular.
Yeah,
the public
that's true.
The apprehension of the public will go.
But why
Even in Kerala, I can tell you, even in our state, Kerala, I was meeting the health minister the other day. She told me there is a reluctance on the part of a certain section of the medical fraternity to take the vaccine.
It is there. It is everywhere. Okay, so we will discuss. I'm keeping this topic of role of youth in vaccination on Monday, the coming Monday, on the 1st of February. Thank you very much, Mr. Lakshman. Now I invite my next panelist, and he's Mr. Rakesh Kumar Jha. Mr. Rakesh Kumar Jha is the civil services coach. He is the managing director of Discourse Academy, Delhi. He motivates and give interviews, guidance to UPSC aspirants. He is visiting faculty of political science, general studies, and English language at different reputed institutes. He is doing talk shows for All India Radio, Akashvani, New Delhi. He is called upon by various media organizations to participate as an expert for their live shows on various national and international issues. He conducted and moderated several seminars, including National Seminar in the World Book Fair 2016, New Delhi, by National Book Trust, Government of India. He has published several books and written articles in reputed publications. He is co-author of India-Mauritius Bilateral Relationship Recent Initiative. Welcome, Mr. Rakesh Kumar Jha, on our show. You have already heard all the earlier 4 panelists have given a clean chit to the Biden-Kamala administration, and they feel that the Biden-Kamala administration is going to support India as earlier Trump administration was supporting. Now, we would like to know from you, will Biden-Kamala favor Indian policies? Mr. Rakesh Kumar Jha, please.
Yeah, good morning to everyone. And, namaskar. You see, everyone has spoken a lot of stuff on all these things. But as a student of political science from Delhi University, when I studied 20 years back, and my teachers, Professor Mahendra Kumar, he was international expert. Then B.N. Khanna, he has himself written a book, which books are being studied by the UPSC students also. Then some of the teachers from JNU also. What they taught as students, what I recall, that the foreign policy is just to have the national interest, the fulfillment of the national interest is the main thing. What Professor Sudhir Saran has shown, the elephant. And that's we Indians are much more, emotional kinds of and cultural kinds of things that, okay, some has become, vice president and something and all these things. Especially, particularly as far as Indo-US relation is concerned, I can go back to NAM movement, what Michael sir had also suggested, that when India had taken the birth as a nation, in those days also, it has a dilemma of the statesman that to whom we have to go, rather to think that as a nation, what we can do. Why not the people and the other country will come to us? Rather, we can think of that what is happening in Europe and in America. It has been the general trend for the intelligentsia, intellectuals, think tanks, and even the professors, teachers, and the questions are coming in the UPSC also, and even in this has been the trend. It has been the trend for the long since 1947 and up to now. So what is the point? That we Indians should also think, introspect ourselves that, okay, like US is undoubtedly it's a superpower and undoubtedly it has got a lot of things to share with the world community, but not at the stake of their own national interest. All the panelists have already said all these things. The second thing, what makes national interest? What makes the simple thing, the the education is there, the trade is there, economic policies are there, economic diplomacies are there, national interests are there, political diplomacy, and all these things are rooted through the economic diplomacy. Economic diplomacy after Cold War, particularly NAM and Cold War, and dismantling of US, what has happened? Sorry, USSR, what has happened that most of the things are coming to the Indians because we are having much more population than even the middle class population, more than 32 million and all these things. So this is a real thing. And all policies, if I look at the political administration inherited since the Bill Clinton times, it has been that no, India is a huge market. Undoubtedly, India is a huge market, and that's why all the US administration have been thinking on that particular line that we have to go. As you know, Arun sir has given the data also, and Sudhir Saran sir, and how it has risen. And that's why when Donald Trump had come to Gujarat, he told Modi that the Modi is a tough negotiator. Modi is a tough negotiator. And even if you look at 123 agreement, what had happened then? That no, at any cost, we have to go for. And all the media things have manipulated everything. So ultimately, the economic policies are the main benchmark for anything. And all these things are the superficial things. And definitely, as a senator, when Biden had come long time back, also he was the first US president, US vice president who visited to India. Definitely, the more or less everything would be same to my best of my knowledge. And definitely, some of the issues like the visa problem and the migration issues are there, and the human rights issues are there. Everything are there. There are a concern also. And as far as the Pakistan policy is concerned, China policy is concerned, definitely since we are their big partner, we are there. But at the same time, what I want to say to my all panelists and to my viewers also, that what we can sell, what we can gain out of this new administration, that is the challenge before any policy maker of this country. That is the challenge for all the intellectuals of this country, that what exactly will be able to negotiate in our favor. Because if not, then I think there would be a lot of challenges ahead. And because we should not be in the compulsive mode, rather we should be in the exchanging mode. Okay, this is the thing we can sell to them and they can give. There are so many expertise are there, and definitely at the international level, we are having a lot of capacities because we are the budding youth of more than 20-25 million people out there. We have a lot of things we can share with them, and that's why we have shown in the COVID crisis also we send them. So all these things will definitely make a sense. And Goel have one more thing, that we should not be that much of optimistic, but yes, definitely. And as all the seniors, I'm blessed to have that all the seniors like Michael sir, Arun Lakshman sir, Sudhir sir, Abraham sir, and I'm blessed to have that you have given me such an opportunities. And when I was discussing with the High Commissioner of Mauritius, that Jagdishwar Govardhan ji, when I wrote a book that time, he was also saying that you know, why I have deputed here, just to make maximum out of your country. That is the diplomacy, and that is the point that every country does understand. And definitely, we are growing day by day. We are have a lot of things, and definitely a good start will be there. But at the same time, we should be very clever. We should be very smart. That in cyber security cases, in the like all these terrorism issues, and some of the issues will be definitely at the same platform we can discuss. And but most of the important things are economic diplomacy. And here I doubt that whether our administration, I mean the Modi government, would be a tough negotiator in a real sense, in the realistic sense, or in theoretical sense only. So that's the concern as an intelligentsia, what I can say with all my viewers. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Rakesh Jha. And as Mr. Rakesh Jha says that he had done his political science 20 years back, I would like to share that I have done my master's in political science 47 years back. But what you have said is correct, that yes, the US government wants the business. And if they feel that the particular government or any government in the world, they means the business, they would like to go with that government. But there are other issues also, which I am now going to raise one by one in the point. Thank you very much, Mr. Rakesh Jha, for raising your reservation also about the negotiation. But now I'm coming to the point. My question goes to Mr. Michael. Mr. Michael, we discussed about the human rights. Now, my question to you is, will the new administration likely exert pressure on India on human rights? As we all know that whatsoever has been how Ms. Kamala has mentioned very clearly, and it was that on the social media she was abused, and she was giving names for talking like this, although she is Indian. So will the new administration likely exert pressure on India on human rights issue, and how should India respond? Mr. Michael, please.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I think very focused on a very sensitive area. Certainly on the human rights issue, when you look into that, individually, if you look our conscious and look into our human rights issues, I think we need to be improved. So whether they say or not, I would say change is important. I think we should address the issues. It is individually, when you say the human individual as well as the state. So it's very important, I would say, even the United Nations, whenever it came into, they looked into this part of the human rights issues. So I would straight, I don't think that they will be coming to straight and because their human rights records is also not very great. Let us not find fault with that, but we need to improve our home front in terms of human rights. I think how to defend, we need not defend, by action speaks. I think if you look into our military, I think human rights, the violations are least. I think we should be proud of the Indian Army, because they are one of the best in terms of human rights honoring. I think as a peacemonger in the world, I think we should set right ourselves, and our human rights records should be better. The NHRC, the state human rights commissions should, I think really, little elevate. Change is good. I think that change should be a positive change is what I would look into that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Michael, and being an authority on NHRC, if you are saying that some change is required, then it is really required. Thank you very much. Now, my question goes to Dr. Abraham. Dr. Abraham, do you think Mr. Trump, Donald Trump, although he was very close friend of Mr. Modi, but he was the president of USA who harmed the maximum this country, that is our great country, India?
Can I answer?
Yes, yes, please.
Trump, I don't think he has harmed our country. He was actually supportive. But as far as Trump is concerned, we all know that he always say America first. World is only after that. America first policy was his. So he favored India to the extent it was favoring him. Other than that, I don't think there was no.
Dr. Abraham, I can mention two things. First thing about the H-1B visa, which harmed India
Yes.
very badly. Secondly, he put Indians commodities under the unfavorable. Earlier it was in the favorable thing. So exports have also been hit. So these things were done by Trump, although he was showing that
Yes.
he is very close. So don't
Yes.
you think he is playing a double standard game with India?
Yes, I 100%, I forgot that aspect. You are said is, what you said is absolutely correct. His immigration policy harmed India very largely. Secondly, his negative list and barrier raising by the excessive taxation. I mean, the international, what is that, import duty and all that is, it was harmful for India. There is no doubt about it.
Okay, thank you very much. Now my question goes to Dr. Sudhir sir, and I am putting a caveat. See, I am asking this question as a devil's advocate, and I have to ask so that the perception in the public should go away. My question is Mr. Modi's closeness with Mr. Donald Trump harmed the relationship which is going to see in the next 4 years? Because what Mr. Modi has done, not a single earlier Prime Minister of India, at least, has done, that going to another country and saying that Agli Baar Trump Sarkar. Can we also have similar thing the next time Canadian Prime Minister in 2024 comes here and say Agli Baar Congress Sarkar or third person Sarkar? Will we tolerate this? Don't you think this has given a negative aspect on our relationship or not? Dr. Sudhir Saran, please.
So before I answer the question, I want to share a personal news. Here is the laddu ka dabba. And this is because today my son tells, who married an American girl, that they are going to be parents. So I'm becoming a grandfather. I want to share the joy with every one of you all by symbolically offering the laddu with you.
Congratulations,
Thank you very much.
Dr. Sudhir Saran, and you have already shown khane ke aur dikhane ke aur. So you are going to show us the laddu, and you are just showing us. Fine, no problem.
This is because of coronavirus.
Yes.
Okay. Now coming to this one, you see, we must realize today, after 2010, the world has become very, very complicated when it comes to taking positions. We are very easily mistaken about, the way things are going on. And I will, very much tell that the diplomacy of the old kind is going to be the savior and going to be once back in circulation again. The old diplomats face challenges much tougher as we are doing, but then they never were caught on the short foot. You see, the American miracle or the surprise is because the millennial generation is registering like mad. In Georgia, if the two senators won, it is by a margin of less than 20,000 and 50,000. And in a vote base of 50 lakh people, it was just those young people who are gaining a bigger media share, bigger mind share than their number. If our old aged politicians do not notice this one, I think we'll get into bigger problems than what you pointed out. Surely we are exposing ourselves by precedences, by saying that we are favoring one person for a president position. And you are very right. Every other country now gets a license to come back to India and support any party of their preference who toes their line and their policies. This has been the game. So you are very right. It has become a very slippery field, and the politicians and bureaucrats should tread that field very, very cautiously, using highest level of diplomacy in the relationship.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Sudhir Saran. Or in other words, we can say that Mr. Trump's, through his tactical move or his double standard, he used our honorable Prime Minister for his benefit, but he could not get the benefit what he wanted. Anyway, thank you very much, Dr. Sudhir Saran. Now my question goes to Mr. Arun Lakshman. Mr. Arun Lakshman, will Kamala Harris Indian roots be a bane or boon in the Indo-US relationship?
It will never be a bane for India-US relationship, Mr. Lal Goel. We will have to see, and it will take days or maybe months to see whether it is a boon. But it will not be a bane for an Indo-US relationship because she has already, the Indian Prime Minister has tweeted not only for your chitties. Chitties is the South Indian word for Dr. Michael Shivadashiramani and Abraham sir can explain that more. Chitties is not only your chitties, but the whole Indians are happy on you becoming the vice president of the country. That was a tweet the prime minister of the country did. So Kamala Harris becoming the US vice president will never be a bane, but whether it's a boon, to that extent, we will have to wait and watch.
Okay, thank you very much. But we will not ask for the Ghar Vapsi from Kamala Harris to come back to Hinduism from the Christianity. Okay, that is a separate topic which we will discuss sometime. Now I will go to my, for the last question to Mr. Jha.
Yes.
Will friction over trade protectionism, because you know there is a protection of trade protectionism which has started, and H-1B visa get resolved under the new administration? What point I have raised, that H-1B visa is been restricted by Trump, as well as put in the unfavorable country. So it will be resolved by the new administration?
Yeah, definitely. We hope so because that Biden administration knows it very well that if we have to win the heart of Indians living diaspora out there, so definitely they have to take some decisions, and I think it will be more pro-Indians than earlier Trump administration. Yes, definitely it will be. And even if not, then once again I have to say that it's the part of diplomacy that there are a lot of other issues which can be talked later, but the administrative point will be go and smoothly it will go, and a strategic partner will be remain in all the respects, political, economic, and strategic in all the respects. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So today you have seen that how all our panelists have given a very strong views, and they says whatsoever has happened with Mr. Trump or Mr. Modi's relationship, or Mr. Trump showing so much closeness to India, but there will be no change, a radical change in the shift of this Biden-Kamala partnership, or the presidentship or the vice presidentship policies towards India. And they are going to favor Indian policies. Rather, they have also, our panelist has also extended that it might be that it will be more favorable than Mr. Trump, because it has been admitted that what Mr. Trump has done, he was showing, as our one of the panelists has shown the figure of elephant, that he was showing the teeth which are showing very favorable to India, but for internally he was harming India, and he has harmed India in a very big way because of the H-1B visa, because of the unfavorable country as far as the import or the exports is concerned. So I am sure that this new administration of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are going to go back to Obama time, when they will be having a balanced position for our policies, and which are required very badly as present time. Thank you very much for joining us. And today's program has been live telecasted by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV, News Gaon Se, Samvad Sarokar News, as well as it was shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And our endeavor is to bring to you every day a new topic. And tomorrow's media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m., our topic is Women and Higher Education. And the panelists are Dr. Rajiv Anand, Senior Psychiatrist and Marriage Counselor, Mumbai; Miss Manju Sadangrangni, Educationist, Mumbai; Miss Shamshir Shri Sen, Vice Principal, NL Dalmia High School, Mumbai; and Miss Madhu Dhankani, Business Women, Spain. She is joining from Spain. So please tune in tomorrow for media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. Thank you very much, Mr. Michael. Thank you very much, Dr. P.K. Abraham. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran. Thank you very much, Mr. Arun Lakshman. And thank you very much, Mr. Rakesh Jha, for joining and enlightening our viewers on a very current and relevant topic. And I'm sure and I hope that this coming 4 years of the Biden-Kamala administration will be definitely beneficial for this, our great country, India, which we require very badly in view of the increasing power and showing the authority of the China. We require such type of support, not only on words, but in reality. Thank you very much, and thank you all the viewers for watching our show.